We all think we have a pretty good handle on what it means to be healthy. But what if the definition we've all been using, basically just not being sick, is, well, missing most of the picture? So let's pull back the curtain and explore what being healthy really means.
So let's just dive right in with this question. When you really think about your own health, what comes to mind? Is it your energy level, your mood, or is it just the fact that you haven't had to go to the doctor recently? For a long, long time, the answer was surprisingly simple. Maybe a little too simple.
Yeah, the traditional view, what's known as the biomedical concept, is exactly that simple. It's rooted in this germ theory of disease, right? The idea that if there aren't any germs making you sick, hey, you're healthy. It's super black and white. If you don't have a diagnosable disease, you're considered healthy. End of story. Or is it? But come on, we all know that's not the whole story, right? Think about things like stress from your job, your relationships, even the quality of the air you breathe. All of that obviously affects how you feel. But this old model, it just had no room for any of it. Its biggest problem is that it's just way too narrow. It treats the human body like a machine that's either broken or not, and it totally ignores all the outside stuff that shapes our well-being.
And this slide, I think, really nails the shift in thinking. On one side, you've got the old view, very narrow, all about one person's disease. And then on the right, you have this modern, holistic view. It sees health as something deeply tangled up with our community, our economy, our whole society. The focus blows up from just a single patient to the entire population.
Okay, so if health isn't just about our physical bodies, what else is there? This is where we get into a much, much bigger and more complete picture of what it means to be well. This definition, right here, from the World Health Organization, honestly, it completely changed the game. Notice those key words: complete physical, mental, and social well-being. And it explicitly says that health is not merely the absence of disease. I mean, that was a pretty radical idea at the time, and it's basically the foundation for how we think about health today. And this idea of complete well-being just blows the doors open to all these different dimensions you see here. It's not just about your body anymore. It's your mind, your relationships, even your job and your sense of purpose. I mean, think about it. Can you really truly be healthy if you're physically fine, but you feel totally alone or miserable at work? This new, bigger view says nope. So, understanding these different parts of health is one thing. But what actually shapes them? Well, it turns out our health is constantly being pushed and pulled by this huge network of factors, and a lot of them are totally outside of our direct control. Okay, I know this looks a little complicated, like a page out of a textbook. Don't worry about reading every single word. This is what experts call the determinants of health. And here's the main takeaway. Our health isn't just the result of the choices we make. It's shaped by this whole hidden map of forces, from our community and family to the big social and economic currents. These are the things that ultimately determine our health. So let's break that down a bit. Of course, you've got the biological stuff like your genes, and yeah, our personal behaviors definitely matter. But look at everything else here. Our environment, our income, our education, whether we can even get to a doctor, even bigger things like gender equality and human rights. They're all considered determinants of health. And all of a sudden, you realize health is a much, much bigger issue than just diet and exercise. This wild-looking diagram shows something called the web of causation for a heart attack. Again, you don't need to follow every single arrow. Just look at the overall picture. It's showing that a heart attack isn't caused by just one thing. It's more like a chain reaction where your lifestyle, stress, genetics, your environment, they all get tangled up together. And that's a really profound idea, right? It shows why it's so hard and maybe unfair to blame a single cause or a single choice for a lot of chronic diseases. All right, so if health is this big, complex, multidimensional web of factors, how on earth do you measure it? I mean, how do we know if a whole community or even an entire country is actually healthy? Well, the answer is we use something called health indicators. You can think of them like vital signs, temperature, blood pressure, but for a whole community. They're just specific data points that let us measure, compare, and track a population's health over time to see if we're actually making any progress. Okay, take a look at this number, 0.640. What in the world could that possibly have to do with health? I mean, on its own, it means absolutely nothing. But as a health indicator, it tells a pretty fascinating story about an entire country. That number is India's Value on the Human Development Index, or HDI. This is a really powerful indicator because it doesn't just look at one thing. It actually combines data on life expectancy, education levels, and income to give a much broader, more, holistic picture of a nation's well-being.
But here's a thought. Indicators like the HDI measure things that are known, things that get reported. But what about all the health problems we can't see? The ones people don't even realize they have? And that brings us to one of the most powerful concepts in all of public health, the iceberg of disease. What doctors actually see in their clinics, the people with symptoms, that's just the tiny, tiny tip of the iceberg. Below the surface, there's this massive, hidden burden of undiagnosed cases or people who have a disease but no symptoms yet. And this is why public health can't just focus on the people who show up at the doctor's office. The real challenge is figuring out how to deal with that huge, unseen part of the iceberg. Okay, so we've redefined health, we've uncovered the hidden factors that shape it, and we've even learned a bit about how to measure it. So what? What's the point? The crucial question is, what do we do with all this knowledge? How do we turn these big ideas into real action? Well, by understanding this full picture, we can actually be a lot more strategic. We can step in at different points to prevent disease from ever starting, or to catch it early, or just to manage its impact. It gives us a kind of blueprint for protecting and promoting health. And here is that blueprint, broken down into 4 levels. First up is primordial prevention. This is the big picture stuff. Trying to stop the risk factors themselves from ever showing up in a society, like with mass education campaigns about healthy lifestyles. Then you have primary prevention. This is action you take before anyone gets sick, like getting a vaccine or wearing a mask. Secondary prevention is all about early detection. Think cancer screenings to stop a disease in its tracks. And finally, there's tertiary prevention, which is about managing a disease that's already advanced to improve someone's quality of life. Think physical therapy or rehab. And all of this brings us to our final and maybe the most important question of all. If we accept that health is this complex web of social, economic, and environmental factors, and not just a series of personal choices, then whose responsibility is it? Is it all on us as individuals? Or if our health is really shaped by the world around us, does that mean our communities and our governments have a fundamental responsibility to protect it? That's the really big question this new definition of health leaves us with.